Okay, part 2. Hey, it's Kelly with Away We Go 2.0. Kathy's out yonder doing yonder things. Today, I'm doing part 2 of our Take a Hop series, how to get on a space-A flight, military flight, to go around the world for free. The other F word, free. Okay, so in our last video, part 1 of this space-A travel, we told you how to research flights, the applications to use Take a Hop, takeahop.net. It is an Android app, I did check into that. So you can get that and you can research your flights. There are different space-A forums on Facebook and so forth that you can research your flights and find out where you want to go. Let's jump ahead a little bit. You've done all of your research, you found your flight, you've gotten registered online, you sent your information in, you didn't send your passport number, you didn't send your social security number, by the way, because it goes out in the Neverland out there. Because you've sent all the pertinent information on you and those that are going to be traveling with you on Space Available, Space A. All right, so what I'm going to do today is go over, I do have a checklist here because I want it to be kind of fast and furious, but I don't want it to be too long and drawn out. So, roll call time. You'll see on the Facebook websites, it talks about roll call time. That's essentially when they say, okay, everybody that's here that wants to get on the flight, y'all come line up and we'll go down. Sign up time, all those things we talked about earlier. Sign up time and all that stuff, categories, you know, are you somebody going on emergency leave, or are you somebody just traveling, you're a retiree and you're trying to go somewhere for free, like us. So so they go down all of that stuff, and then you let's say, okay, you're good, your name is, you've been selected, you've made the flight, so you're good, you're on the flight. They got showtime. So roll call and showtime are often used interchangeably, but the official terminology is roll call that you'll see on the flight. And usually about the flight. Usually that's going to be about 2 hours prior to the actual departure of the flight. Roll call is very important because if you're not there, then you're not getting on the plane unless you find a very sympathetic agent there, you know, that lets you on, whatever. But generally speaking, if you miss roll call, that's it. You're not on the flight. The categories of the flights. All right, so you've looked on Facebook and you've researched it. You've decided you want to go from Dover, Delaware to Rota, Spain. And on there, they've got 3 different categories for the flights. It'll tell you, you know, your roll call time. You need to be there for your roll call. That's what time you've got to be there. And then it'll say, you know, destination, what have you. Then it'll have number of seats. The number of seats will either be TBD, to be determined. In other words, they don't know how many seats they're going to have until the flight crew gets there and they tell them, this is what we've got. They'll have T for tentative. They're like, we think there's going to be about 30 seats available. We're just not sure, but it kind of gives you at least a ballpark, you know. And then F for firm. That means they know that there will be no flights. They've already been told ahead of time, they being the passenger terminal people, have already been told ahead of time that we are not going to have any seats available on this flight. Move on to the next one. TBD, to be determined, tentative, and firm. Categories. You've got category 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can go to spacea.net to get more information on the specifics, I guess, regarding your different categories. But for us, as a retiree, we are category 6, which means we are the lowest category, and somewhat rightfully so. You know, you got people coming from overseas trying to get home for the holidays or the end of the year, or they're coming back on environmental and morale leave, EML leave, things like that. You know, official contractors may be coming back, you know, what have you. So you are, as a retiree, you're going to be category 6, which means it's pretty low. You get on when the baggage goes on, you know, but it's free. You need to go to spacea.net and look up that information, find out the exact specifics of your category, because there's way too much for me to ever begin to go into. When you get ready to get on the flight, you're packing. You always want to pack light, but you want to bring snacks. Where there's chips, you know, you can bring bottled sodas. After you go through the check-in, that is, they being the AMC terminals, do generally follow TSA guidelines. Some are a little more restrictive than others. You know, some smaller bases are like, you know, okay, you got anything, you know, get on the plane, whatever. And then other bases, you know, you take your shoes off, you turn your computers on, you empty your stuff out, you know, all of that. And so just be prepared for either extreme. Usually they'll have soda machines and things like that, snack vending machines on the other side of the TSA check, the x-rays and stuff. Bring wipes, sanitary or baby wipes, whatever you want. I recommend sanitary wipes. So, if you do use the restroom on the plane, you want to kind of, you can do the alcohol stuff, whatever, but, with wipes, you've also kind of got that built-in napkin and so forth. Some flights offer in-flight meals. Usually those are flights coming from overseas back to the United States, sometimes from the United States to an overseas destination. It sort of depends on the capabilities and the facilities available at the terminal from which you're departing. But by overseas meal, I mean, it'll be a sandwich, maybe a peanut butter sandwich, maybe a lunch meat sandwich, chips, a banana, a granola bar, and water and a soda, something like that. And I think they're like $6, whatever. If it's an 8 or 9 hour flight, to each his own. But yeah, go and bring you some wipes. If you're on an 8, 9, 10 hour flight or longer, you're gonna wipe your face off and just kind of feel refreshed a little bit, clean your hands, and then throw it away. Just kind of give you that little bit of like, that just, I'm not on a plane kind of feeling, I guess. Lodging, once you've gotten on to the, you're getting on the plane, you're gonna make your flight, you've been assigned a seat, you've gone through all the TSA oriented stuff. That's when you probably, if not sooner, once you're on that flight for certain, go ahead and call ahead to arrange lodging at your next destination, whether it's another military base, civilian destination. Maybe you've snagged a flight to Orlando or something like that out of the blue. You're like, hey, I can go to Disneyland. Well, then if you don't already, obviously you're going to need lodging. If you are like we were on our last trip, we intended to go to Hawaii, but we ended up in Spain. Not a bad deal. But I had to kind of stop and say, oh, wait, I don't need lodging in Hawaii. I do need lodging in Spain. We'd never been there before, so I had to call and kind of get that set up. But go ahead and get your lodging lined up because, if you're in the air 4, 5, 6 hours, whatever, obviously you're not going to have a means of communication. So you don't want to get off the plane in a place you may or may not have ever been and have no transportation, no lodging, no familiarity with the area whatsoever. And there are ways around that, but you still kind of want to have that comfort level of, well, if all else fails, at least I got a place to lay our head tonight. Whether that's on base lodging at dodlodging.net, dodlodging.net. They have Army, Air Force, Navy, Marine Corps bases around the world where you can seek out lodging at very reasonable prices. And then there are some that are not listed on there. There's one on Staten Island near the Verizon Bridge around New York City that's not listed on dodlodging.net. My wife Kathy found that through Google. Use that technology, DoD Lodging. You never know what you may find. How long can you stay? A lot of places, especially in high touristy areas. I know Pearl Harbor, for example, is one of these locations where they only give you like a 3-day reservation. So you may plan for a 10 or 12 day trip, or you may have a medical situation like I did. We were over in Hawaii our last time. I had a kidney stone, kind of knocked me out pretty hard. So we ended up spending 12 days there instead of 5 days because I actually had to have minor surgery done, day surgery, whatever. But it was still had a recovery period and couldn't fly and all these things. So never say never. So you want to make sure you're aware of what type of lodging arrangements they have. We had to move a couple of times from one building to another over at Pearl Harbor, and they were all nice, but it's like you kind of do that sea bag drag every 3 days. And then I think fortunately the last probably 7 or 8 days, we were able to, looking out my window, our house is for sale. And when somebody drives by slowly, it's like, hey, wait a minute, stop. Last night, 9:30, somebody pulling our driveway, stopped looking, taking pictures or writing down the phone number of the agent. Make sure what your arrangements are. We went to Spain, rode to Spain. They were like, stay as long as you want. As long as we've got a room, you can stay, That's one extreme. Pearl Harbor, on the other hand, was a bit more like, we are a high touristy area, and that's just our policy we do every 3 days. So keep those things in mind. There's a lot to explore on dodlodging.net. That might even be a separate video because there are Navy Gateway Inns, Navy Lodge, ends of the Corps for the Marine Corps bases, Air Force ends, DoDlodging.net. Arrange transportation for when you get there, whether it's a rental car, off base or on base. Enterprise is really good about having locations on bases, big bases and smaller bases, but Enterprise rental car is really pretty good. The owner is a former sailor on the USS Enterprise, and it's the name. And they're very cooperative with military situation, especially those of us who are on space-safe flights or people coming out on Navy ships that are in for 3 or 4 days and they have to leave, and Air Force crew members that are there for 2 or 3 days and have to leave, and you know, they'll have a drop box somewhere, make it a little more convenient. They've got their different clubs you can join for points, whatever. Not every place has that, or they may not have a car available. I mean, just like any other ones, you know, they run out, or maybe something doesn't come in, but the further in advance you can make a reservation, just like anywhere else, the better. Overseas, some bases, larger bases, will have like a rental car through the exchange system, whether the PX or BX, AFES or what have you. Again, when we were in Rota this past time, the Navy Exchange had a rental car agency component, I guess you'd call it, to the Navy Exchange system. And we got a car for $37 a day, I think was one day. But the longer you rented it, the less expensive it was. So we had, I think we had it for 5 or 6 days or whatever it was. Our cost ended up being about $31 a day. And they don't do this, oh, you need insurance and you have to do this and you have to do that. In Spain, you didn't have to do that. Now, if you're in the United States, yeah, they're going to do this insurance pitch and all that stuff. That's teach his own. And some military bases overseas may require that you have like the international driver's license thing. We don't have that in Rota, Spain. Again, all they wanted was a driver's license and military ID. It was a 5-speed, so, you know, you may want to check on those things, because just because you're in a foreign country and they have a car available, if it's a 5-speed and you can't drive 5-speed, then you're back to square one. Travel as light as possible. It's just like any other airline flight. You know, you don't want to be dragging bags everywhere, but it's a little different in that with a commercial airline, when you have a scheduled flight. So if you're going to go from Atlanta to New York to London to Italy, then down to, you know, wherever, they're going to, hopefully, your luggage is going to follow that route with you. You'll never actually have to touch your luggage again until you get to your destination. And that's not the case with military flights. If you catch a flight, if you catch a flight from, we'll say, Memphis to McGuire-Dix Air Force Base in New Jersey, you're there for a day or however long, and you're like, oh, hey, I want to go to, you know, London, England. There's a flight to Prestwick, or there's a flight to Mildenhall, or something like that outside of London. Then, you know, you're going to have to carry your bags around with you until that flight comes up, and then you can get on it and so forth. So you're going to be doing that, as we used to call it in the Marine Corps, that sea bag drag, you know, whatever, where, you know, wherever you go, your baggage is going to go with you, unless you decide to get a room, you know, but either way, wherever you go, it goes with you. The other thing is you never really know where you're going to go. You know, again, we left our home with the intent of going to Hawaii and spending a few days, and we ended up in Spain, which again was a great location, but obviously 2 different climates. It was in the 50s at night in Rota, in mid-70s during the day in Rota, whereas if we ended up in Hawaii, it would have been pretty much 75, 78 degrees all day, more of a constant temperature. You want to be prepared for either, so for that reason, you may have to carry coats around that you would not normally carry. You may leave a destination and it's 20 degrees, or leave a departure place and it's 20 degrees and your destination is 85 degrees. You need to be prepared for that, just like you would on any commercial flight. But with military flights, again, if you just kind of get on the road and you're not really sure where you want to go and you're just, you know, getting away, be prepared for either. We recommend getting coats, for example, that are collapsible, these feather down, really light nylon coats that are really pretty warm, but you can wrap them down and compress them down into anything. You can stuff them down in your bags, crannies and nooks of your backpack or whatever, so that they're accessible but they're not bulky. Really, really recommend those. Anything that's lightweight and nylon and this sort of thin, light down filled. We got ours at Sam's Club, for example, for, you know, $30, whatever, and they're really surprisingly warm and very lightweight. You can put them anywhere. You can just about put them in your pocket if you had to. So really highly recommend something like that. I'll see if I can get a link to them, and I'll look in the tag and see what brand it is. TSA rules generally apply, so don't think you're going to go through check in with a gallon of whatever in your backpack. I know some places are a little more or less lenient on military bases with their TSA stuff, but generally you need to be prepared to follow TSA rules when you fly space available AMC passenger type flight. Just plan on TSA rules. Bring an extra. We always bring an extra bag, a duffel bag or something for our fourth bag, for souvenirs and things like that, because we know that we're probably going to bring something back for someone. So what we'll do is we'll have our 3 suitcases per se, and then we'll put the duffel bag in there for those kind of things. On your suitcases, wheels are very important. When you're doing that sea bag drag, and you may only have to walk a quarter mile to the passenger terminal and back to your room, but if you miss your flight, now you've got to walk back another quarter mile back. So you want to make sure that you've got a good, sturdy set of wheels on your suitcase. And I'm not saying go out and buy $1,000 set of luggage, but if you plan to travel a lot, and if you're getting a really big suitcase and whatever for $10, you get what you pay for. Plan to spend $40, $50 maybe for a suitcase. I know that's not a ton of money for some high-end travelers, but I mean, you just got to make sure those wheels are good, because when you're dragging that stuff along these sidewalks and all that, it's not going to be through a passenger terminal at Atlanta or JFK or LAX. You're going to be dragging it, like for example at Travis Air Force Base. If you miss your flight, you're going to be walking back to the lodge about a quarter mile, the sidewalks, and you'll be crossing roads, this and that. And that'll take its toll on a suitcase. When you arrive at your destination, check with the passenger terminal people there to find out what they normally do. Where are flights you usually fly to, and how often? What are your routine flights? When we got to Spain, we had a general idea. You look at their Facebook page, like we talked about in part 1. We had a general idea of where they flew to, but we didn't know, well, okay, I know you go to XYZ place, but is there anything to do there? Is it expensive? Are there any terror issues? One of the things, for example, we hoped to go to Casablanca when we were in Rota. It would have been a bit of a journey, but it was certainly doable. There were excursions, whatever, that would go to Casablanca and things like that. But we talked to the terminal agents there, and they're like, they're not too keen on Westerners right now, particularly Americans. So, you may want to rethink that. And we did, and so whatever. So the passenger terminal people there can give you a lot of good information on what flights go where, what are popular destinations, whether they're expensive, terrorist issues, and things like that, as usual. And you always want to check the State Department website before you leave if you think you're going to a certain location. If I didn't, guilty, but if I thought about it, I would have probably checked State Department travel alerts for Casablanca, and I would have known it was not going to be really a player anyway. It was unfortunate, but we didn't get to do that, but I'm glad we made the right decision. On a base, you have what's called ITT, Information Tickets and Tours. They're sort of like the base travel agent. I think they've changed their name now. Check with the ITT people, Information Tickets and Tours. They're basically the base travel agency. She also mentioned issues with Morocco in general, and Casablanca and so forth. They can recommend restaurants, they can recommend the best route to get somewhere. We went down to the Rock of Gibraltar, and she said, well, you really want to take the inland route because it's more direct and it's quicker. And we did do that going down, but coming back, we felt a little more confident, so we took the coastal route, which took about an extra hour, but it was really beautiful as well. And you want to see something different. It was our first real big day there, our first time doing really major, significant travel. We didn't have our GPS. And by the way, speaking of GPSs, you can rent a GPS at some of these places, some of these rental car places when you're overseas. Just sort of a side note. But what we did, I took my Garmin, and I thought, well, we'll give it a shot. Garmin wanted like $350 to download a European map, or whatever. And if we lived over there, if we went over there frequently or whatever, or maybe in the future, if it looks like we're going to go to Europe a lot, that might be something worthwhile. But for right now, for this trip, it was a non-happening event. So Garmin was really a non-player. We used Google Maps initially, and it was pretty good. It got us down to the Rock of Gibraltar. And then coming back, I remember seeing the Waze app, W-A-Z-E. It's crowd generator, whatever, you know what the term is, in other words. So, but it actually ended up being a pretty good way to navigate as well. It was pretty user-friendly. I had a small iPhone 7. The battery didn't last long, so I had to keep it plugged in. but it got me from A to B. And so now I've gotten a newer phone. We did go and get the 7 Plus, so it's got a bigger screen. So if I have to get in that situation again, I've got a bigger screen to navigate with, whether it's Google Maps, which was good, and then the Waze app, which we thought was probably better, to be honest with you. But again, that goes back to your phone plan. Make sure you've got a good, robust international plan, especially for data. We have our iPad that was eligible for data. We have Kathy's phone eligible for data, but we made my phone the primary phone. So it was the one that had the data, the international package, and everything else. We're on Verizon, and that was the best way to go. So Kathy was not able to receive or send text messages. If she did, it cost her $10 a day or something. Any kind of unlimited data plan, Verizon's case, whatever you used over here, you got over there, and it cost you $10 a day. So if you were unlimited data in the States, they extended that plan overseas, at least in Spain anyway, in Europe, and it was $10 a day. So as soon as you received your first phone call or text message or whatever you did, boom, that $10 was activated. Whatever, it was worth it for us for sure. When we got down into Gibraltar, for example, though, and I know this is a different topic, but when we got down into, but it's very important because it'd be very expensive if you mess it up, like we did. If we got down into Gibraltar, Gibraltar is a British colony or whatever territory, whatever the term is, and they were on their own telephone and data system, so it cost a lot of money because we didn't research it. When we talked to Verizon, we didn't include Gibraltar, we didn't think about Gibraltar or whatever. So by noon, I got a text message saying, welcome to Gibraltar, you're already at $250 in data. Whoa, stop. Made a few phone calls to Verizon, helped us out, but it really could have been a showstopper from finances. That's $250, and I haven't even had lunch yet that I've spent on data. Be aware of those, make sure you've got a really good, robust data plan if you think you're going to have to use your phone for your GPS. Wi-Fi, that's fine. Use all of your regular security measures you would normally use. But if you're going to use your telephone or iPad for data, for roaming, make sure you've got a good plan. Once you get to the terminal, you ask the terminal people, where do you go? What are your routine flights? Oh, well, we've got a flight to Greece every Thursday. Oh, okay, I might want to go to Greece. Literally the night before we were trying to go to Naples, Italy, there was something on CNN International talking about protests and rioting out in the streets of Naples about, whatever. Like, well, I guess we're not going to Naples today. Be alert and ask questions. They know the deal. They know you're there temporarily and whatever. If you don't ask, you won't know. If you had family coming over here for the first time and they only had 5 days, what are the top 3 places you would send them? Where do the locals go? That kind of thing. Be a tourist. We're in the military. It's like, oh, well, I'm in the military. I have all the answers. No, you don't. Well, you might, or you may, but you're there for a different reason. You're there for military stuff, and you're there for a couple of nights of liberty. You're going to try to get in trouble and whatever. If you're on vacation as an active duty person, be the tourist. Ask for the hokey stuff. Where do you get the tour guide to the Rock of Gibraltar? How do you get into, if I did want to go to Morocco, how could I get there? Go get on the tour bus and do all that crap. We were in London, we just got on the big red bus, whatever, big brown bus, whatever it is, big bus. Drive around town, drive around London, drive around Hollywood, or drive around Manhattan and be the tourist. Go take the whole tour, buy a day pass, and go everywhere they go. San Francisco, we did the same thing. Everywhere they go, then you'll know, in DC especially, then you'll know what's where. Then come back, and if you got your rental car, then you come back, or your personal car, and you go see the Guggenheim Museum, or you go see the National Museum of Natural History, because that's where it is and what it is. Like, you may drive by the Supreme Court or something, and I was like, okay, Supreme Court, okay, that's cool, but it's not worth spending half a day trying to fight with traffic and parking and everything else just to go stand in front of it and take a picture. Well, hopefully that's gotten you through the process. It's gotten you on the plane, you've arrived at your new destination, and you have asked around. You know where you want to go, you know how you're going to get there, whether it's a bus or it's a touristy thing or a cab, or some international locations have Uber. Our very first Uber ride was in London. Who'd have thunk it? Just be the tourist, have fun. It's not nearly as complicated as it sounds, and just ask. There are going to be other people in the terminal that are getting ready to go. There are going to be other people in the hotel, civilian or military. You may end up sharing a cab with somebody that can tell you 100 different things. We had somebody in Charleston the other day. We were talking to them as they were heading out the door to get on their plane. We had like a 2-minute conversation with them, and I bet we learned 10 things from them that we didn't know about Charleston and some other places. It's just a great community, a lot of information shared. You'll learn a lot of things about destinations, about the process, about apps, about websites, about lodging and stuff that you would have never known otherwise. So share your information, ask for their information. If you've got a cab and there's 6 of you standing there, don't get in a big van cab with you and go, share it. If for no other reason, one, it's you'll make a new friend. 2, you'll pay 1/3 of a cab fare instead of, you know, all of a cab fare or Uber or whatever. Just work smart, not hard. That's it for this video. We appreciate it. It's ran a little bit longer than I want, but you know, hopefully this is good information for everybody. And this is Kelly, and Kathy's out there, and we will catch you down the road.